Yeah, just proud of our team for continuing to battle and improve each week. We had maybe our best game of the season, all three phases against Old Dominion, and we're able to win while missing several key starters through injuries. We got another challenging week as we travel to Coastal Carolina on Thursday night on a short week, but it's another great opportunity to put our program on the national stage on ESPN.
And we'll open up now for questions for our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Billy.
Hey, Coach. You talked a little bit about it in your opening statement in all four phases of the game. How impressed have you been with your team's performance over the last 2 weeks? Really kind of pulling out two wins in a row and starting to get things going down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm proud of our team. They continue to come to work every single day at practice and keep improving. We have a lot of room for improvement, but again, we were able to run the football better than we have, which helps Joey not throw it 30 times a football game, and we can't be successful doing that. I thought our defense had a bend, don't break mantra all day long. OD was able to move the ball down the field, but we were able to hold them to 3 points in the second half, which was huge, and we were able to win the turnover battle.
And then, Coach, a follow up there. You talked a little bit about your offense, but what did you see from ODU defensively that really kind of like opened up? Joey with 13 completions, but you guys really had the run game going. So, what schematically did you kind of see that really played into your advantage there?
I think first and foremost, I think Ricky's done a great job at Old Dominion. He's a great football coach, and those guys are playing really well right now. We're just able to be successful in the run game. I thought our receivers blocked well. Our O-line blocked well, protected Joey. But again, we had to come out and run the football. We knew we couldn't throw it against that defense all day long, so we had to establish kind of run game, and we were able to get the 3 and 4 yard runs and move the chains, and in the fourth quarter able to run the ball some more. So again, that's a challenging defense, and again, we come out on the right end of the stick this time.
Let's jump over to Alan.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned some injuries. Can you run through them briefly as to who you're without and who you may be getting back possibly on Thursday?
Yeah, right now out this week would be Kanye Roberts, Michael Hughes, and David Larkin. We hope to get back Anderson Castle, Haywood, and Eli Wilson. Those will be probably game time decisions. We go out and practice this afternoon. We'll know more about that, but those three are out for sure, and we hope to get the other three back this Thursday.
And playing Coastal, it's become it's developed into a rivalry. Is it to make it easier to prepare for a game that has become a rivalry like that with your team's focus?
And it's never easy. Coach Beck's a great football coach, and we got a lot of respect for him and his program. Again, they had a tough loss at Troy, but I mean, they got great players, and they're coached well, and we have to do our very best to have a chance to win. And it starts with the turnover battle. We can't turn the ball over and expect to win. But you look at their offense; they got some explosive players, and on defense, man, they swarm to the ball, they tackle well, and they're really good on special teams. So. Again, it's going to be a tough challenge, but it's one we're looking forward to. It's a great football game. They have great fans like we do, and it's going to be a hostile environment. But again, that's what college football is about, especially on Thursday night ESPN.
And Coach, I'll have one more for you if you could. With the hurricane and disruption that caused the campus, a couple things on that. Just how disruptive was it for your program? How long were you guys without being able to practice and be on campus and all that? And then what kind of outpouring have you received from the football coaching community in support?
No, again, anytime you go 19 days without school, I think it's tough on anyone. And we were trying to do our part to volunteer in the community. And again, it was bigger than just football. It was about taking care of our people in the county in Western North Carolina. To answer your questions, I had a lot of coaches, especially in the Sun Belt, reach out. Coach Beck was one of them. And again, he was probably every coach in the Sun Belt reached out, but they all want to know what they could do to help, and really was nothing they could do. Just thoughts and prayers for our community. But again, tough situation, but that's life. You have to overcome things, tough things in life, and you'll come out better on the back end.
That it for you, Alan?
Yes.
Thank you, Coach, for your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, tough one for us last week. Felt like we started slow. And then we made some good adjustments and we're able to battle back and make it a ball game. And, you know, we just still got a lot of work to do. We got to find a way to end this losing streak that we're on.
And we'll open up now for questions. We'll start it off with Billy.
Hey, Coach. You know, Ethan Vasco throws for 206 yards. Really kind of had to take on the brunt. What did you see from their defense schematically when it came to limiting your run game and kind of forcing you to put the ball in the air a little bit more?
Yeah, you know, we struggled a little bit. I think early we had some success. We got behind early. You know, it's interesting. It was about 5 minutes going a game, or 5 minutes going a half, and it was 14-7. And then they ran the little pick play, picked our linebacker, and scored for 84 yards when that happened. And you know, kind of put us behind, and we started to, you know, we were down 28-7, and we were playing to win and not get rushing yards. We were trying to figure out ways to score, and so we aired it out probably a little bit more. But you know, I think at the end of the day, we got to start fast. We got to start better than we have been lately.
And then, Coach, just a follow up to that, how did you think things went from your end? You know, taking over the play calling responsibilities and everything like that.
It took a while, as you can tell. We didn't start maybe exceptionally, and you know, there's still growth things. I screwed some things up certainly in the game, trying to learn all the vernacular and the little odd end things that our players know. I'm trying to adjust to that and to get that so they don't have to adjust. And but you know, I think at the end of the day, there were some opportunities we didn't execute fully on offense. Defensively, you know, credit to them. They found a weakness and kind of went after us a little bit, and we have to do a better job of getting off the field when we have opportunities to do so. And we had a couple of penalties on some third downs that kept some drives alive. So at critical times, and we have to become better at doing that. And so we're just tightening our helmets up and our shoulder pads and shoelaces and continue to battle. Like, there's no quitting the staff. There's no quitting the players. We're going to continue to work and continue to get after it.
And then another follow up, you know, at home coming up Thursday against App State, pretty dynamic quarterback in Joey Aguilar. And then Amani Marshall, you know, rushed for 120 this past week. What do you see as challenges that App State presents for your team?
Yeah, I mean, they're always a tremendous team. You know, Coach Clark does an outstanding job up there, and his staff, and they've always can run the football. They're really good at that outside zone play. And Joey's one of the top, if not the top quarterback in the league. And he does a great job, and Robinson's good. I mean, they got a lot of good players, and it seems like everybody we play is kind of finding their stride when they come to play us, and they won 2 in a row and probably feeling pretty good where they're at this point. So it is going to be a dogfight like always, and every week we continue to talk about that and say that in our league. And I'm sure all the coaches echo the same statement that you got to come to play every week and protect the football and stop the run and run the ball. And if you can do those things, you probably can win.
Go ahead, Alan.
Hey, Coach. College, it's ESPN Sports Center coming to Coastal on Thursday. Do you have any plans to appear as part of that broadcast?
I right now I don't know. Right now I'm trying to get a first down. So I'll let you know if I happen to be on there. You guys will probably see me. Right now we're slept about 4 hours in 2 days and trying to find a way to get a first down and stop them. So.
And I follow that up. Does you know, this obviously being a rivalry game, it's probably Coastal's biggest rival. Does that, you know, with a team that's struggling a bit, do you think that helps in any way that you have a rivalry game and to maybe get guys more focused or more intense or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a level of excitement, right? It's hard to feel good about where you're at when you drop 3 straight. Right. But there's a little bit of level of excitement because it's a national televised game. It's a rivalry game. It's a home game to be able to play in front of the crowd. And, And so I think all of those things are kind of coming at a good time, to be honest. It certainly does help. But that all goes away after the first snap. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you got to still play football. You still got to block. You still got to tackle. You still got to catch, throw. You got to do all the things that it takes to win games. And we just got to continue to work to be consistent. You know, we're just inconsistent at those things, and at critical times they hurt us.
Thanks,
Okay,
Coach
thanks,
Beck.
Coach.
Appreciate the time.
Okay.
You know, just a tough loss, you know, a 4-quarter battle. Very proud of how our kids, you know, prepared and handled the situation. Marshall's got an outstanding football team. I think they're coached extremely well. I think Coach Huff does a great job, but really proud of our kids to go up there and battle back and forth. You know, 14-14 at the half. We take the lead in the fourth, back and forth. Just had some critical plays, some critical opportunities that you know we really didn't cash in on. But you know, to go to a place like Marshall, you know, against a team and a staff like that, just proud of our kids to go on the road. And I think we've grown as the season has went on how we, you know, how we travel. You know, our mindset on the road. But thought we battled for 4 quarters. Thought our kids showed a lot of toughness, and we just continue to chip away until we get to fight for that next win.
All right, we'll open up now for questions. First questions will come from Luke Creasy.
Hey, Coach, how about the job of Ahmad Hardy? Really took advantage of some looks against that Marshall defense. What was it? Anything that you guys saw on film that kind of allowed him to exploit some of that?
Not really. You know, I've got a ton of respect for Marshall's defense, and I mean that. I thought they were probably, you know, minus Texas, the best defense we've seen this year. Their defensive line is so disruptive. Their linebackers are really good. Their safeties are elite. They're a really good defense. I think they've got a chance to win the East, as a couple other guys do too. But they're a good football team. I thought that our offensive line, we just fought every snap. You know, had some negative plays, but had a lot of big plays. And I thought Ahmad, you know, he ran the ball with a purpose. I thought he had great ball security. Thought he really read his run reads really hard. And when he saw a crease, I felt like, you know, we were able to get downhill, and we were calling it just a fighting for 3 to 4 yards and continue to move the sticks and play complementary football. So I thought he had an outstanding game. He just continues to get better. His preparation, his mentality just continues to grow.
Let's jump over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. You kind of mentioned it in your opening statement, a really tough battle. You know, yardage was very similar. First downs was very similar. What do you feel like is something that you feel like your team can do to come out on the other side of, you know, a really tough road contest like that?
I think, you know, if you look at the situational football on the road in a situation like that, you've got to play complementary football, number one, because we knew they were going to try to run the ball at us and really try to control the clock. I felt like we played complementary football early really well. I thought third downs continues to be an emphasis that we've got to get better on, you know, on both sides of the ball, but especially offense. You know, we're 3 for 11. They were 5 for 11. You know, in fourth downs, I thought we did a good job on fourth down. We were 2 for 2. They were 0 for 1. Time of possession was in our favor. The yards was in our favor. I think the turnover, again, that early turnover, they were able to get 7 points off that, you know, the interception that, you know, giving credit, we left it a hair behind him, but the corner, you know, put his foot in the ground, and that the Marshall secondary, in my opinion, is elite. And I think their defense is elite, and they're coached extremely well. So, you know, hats off to them. That's a really good defense. I was just proud of our kids on their fight. But for us to win those games, we've got to continue, because we had those moments, you know, we're up 17-14 in the fourth, and we've got the ball again. And that's when you've got to drive the field and to be able to score a touchdown to really pull away, and not pull away, but extend that lead. And that's really that next step. And that happens by staying on the field and being better in third downs.
Got time for one more from Billy.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up, Coach. You welcomed Texas State in at home this weekend. What do you see about the challenges that they present, and really, what you've kind of learned from this year so far competing in the Sun Belt? What do you think you have learned that will prepare you and your team for this matchup this weekend?
It's the Sun Belts, the SEC, the Group of Five, in my opinion. I mean, you look at James Madison, you look at Marshall, and App State, you look at ULL, you look at all these teams. I mean, they're all Texas State. This is a really good league. It's a physical league. It's a well-coached league. GJ I've got a lot of respect for GJ. He's a friend of mine. He's done an outstanding job. He's in year 2 at Texas State. Their tempo, they've got a lot of speed on the field. They're coached really well. They play really good defense. They're third in the conference in defense. I think they're giving up 22 and averaging 32. It's going to be challenging. It's got to be one of those deals where we've got to stay ahead of the sticks. We've got to extend our drives. We've got to protect our defense to be able to keep those guys, 4 quarters of tempo. We've got to do a great job tackling in space. We have great ball security, but every week is a war, and these teams are coached well. They're very talented. It's a deep league, and you just got to continue to get ready each week for the next opponent.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye week for us this past week, and good chance for us to see about getting some guys back and just keep rolling this thing forward. But I thought, we've handled it well, got a chance to get a little bit of rest in there. And obviously we have a tough opponent coming up this weekend that, we're excited to get back out on the field and here at home.
We'll open it up now for questions. We'll start it off with Billy.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned the bye week. Were there any particular names that you feel comfortable talking about that, were kind of questionable, but that bye week really helped them come back?
No, because we didn't get through much today yet, and we're just trying to see how we managed the week. So a couple of guys that were not able to go, for the past week or so are just getting a chance to get back out on the field. We had a little walkthrough today and a slight practice. Everybody looked good, so we'll just see how it progresses, as we get through the rest of this week. I don't want to say anything out loud if it doesn't last,
I totally understand. And then looking forward, you welcome Georgia State. What have you kind of seen from their offense and their weapons and what they kind of present schematically?
Weapons, yes, that's a very fair word. They're very good. I think they're, running back top 5 right now in the conference. Receiver, I believe, is top 5 in the conference. They're doing a really good job with, their quarterback right now. And they've rotated a couple through, but Gibson seems like the guy and just has the ability to run and throw, and you get the ball downfield. And 16's phenomenal. The offensive line does a great job. There's very little weakness in this team, and I think trusting their record is not a wise thing to do. They're very good and they're well coached. They have a ton of scheme on both sides of the ball, and they have athletes all over the field that can make plays everywhere. And they've been in a bunch of 1-score games, and this will take everything we got to pull this off.
All right, let's go over to Joe.
Hey, Coach. Playing another coach this week who's in the first year of taking over the program there with Coach McGee. Yeah, you've obviously been a head coach before, but I'm just curious, how often do you and other coaches kind of talk about some of the growing pains of, leading these programs for the first time? And what are some of the commonalities you see?
Yeah, well, I think the commonalities are how many new guys he has on his team, very similar to what we have, is that he has a whole new roster in there, and you're installing a new offense, a new defense, new special teams, new strength and conditioning. When you're doing that, it's very challenging, and it just takes a lot out of everybody on the program to be able to get it all united and tied together. And it just takes time ultimately. So I think those are similarities. As far as getting a chance to spend a lot of time with other coaches, you really don't. And I think, having you have your guys in your past that you're connected with and try to stay in contact with, but ultimately, there probably should be something like that where head coaches get together a little bit more. But in season, it's challenging. Trying to find time to do much of anything other than take care of your program is, really hard to do. But yeah, I don't get a chance to do a lot of it, and I wish I did, though.
Thank you.
Let's go back over to Billy.
Hey, Coach, specifically on the defensive side, Jacob Dobbs has been having an outstanding year. What have you seen about his leadership and his growth so far this season?
Well, I mean, his leadership is what he is and who he is, and it's who he's always been from, 6 years ago or whenever, when we first recruited him to Holy Cross. He came in as a freshman and started and led us to our first conference championship, and then never, lost the conference championship at Holy Cross after that. And he is not, I was just talking, there were 2 scouts at practice today asking about him. And, ultimately he's just this dominant or ultimate competitor and just ultimate leader, that where it's not just about him, but his ability to bring other people with him is what stands out to me. He's very intelligent. He's a coach on the football field. And on top of it, he has poise and he has an ability to lead people to places they can't go themselves. And I think, when his playing days are done, I imagine he ends up in this profession and he will be a remarkable football coach somewhere down the line. But he's already doing it right now on the field. And I think, putting a whistle around his neck, I don't see him walking away from this game and just being done with it. I imagine he's in this for the long haul. I will try to advise him otherwise, by the way, but I'm sure he will not agree to that.
Coach, you talked a little bit about the weapons from Georgia State, but how do you try to slow down a big play receiver like Ted Hurst that seems to always come up with the ball in the key moments for them this year?
Yeah, well, and then Freddie, I mean, they go to the running back, and that sets a lot of this up. But yeah, I mean, you can throw the ball up, and he's well covered at times and still finds a way to contort his body. He has, his ability to accelerate off the ground and keep his eye on the football. And there's some catches that he makes that are ridiculous catches, and he's well covered, and the ball probably shouldn't go there, but it does. And he makes unbelievable football plays. And then he's big and he's fast and he catches everything. He can block in the run game. He's just an absolute weapon out there. It's not very easy to do. We're going to have to, find our right matchups and see if we got to get help and whatever else we have to do. But it's not going to be just, can't imagine we just are able to say, let's press him and play one-on-one all game long. I think there's a whole lot more in there that he does really, really well, that just, we got to make sure we pick our moments and are careful with it.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, just obviously disappointing loss. Give a lot of credit to Louisiana and their coaching staff and their players. Man, they got a tremendous ball club and very well coached. And we're about to run into another really good team and with really good coaches and probably the coach of the year in the conference, and kind of what they've done, and playing them at home is always tough. So we know we got our work cut out for us, and we got a little bit of time to recuperate and kind of refresh, recharge. Playing on Tuesday and getting some time off. So our guys are excited and I think they'll be ready to go. Questions?
We'll open up now for questions for our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Billy.
Hey, Coach. We kind of talked about it last week and throughout this season. You really wanted to make an effort in the run game, rushing for nearly 180 yards. What did you think about your running backs and just everybody in general when it came to the rush?
Yeah, I think, our running backs continue to play well. I think our offensive line continues to play well. I think we need to run better in the red zone when we get down there and put the ball in the end zone and not settle for field goals. But yeah, I think our running backs and O-line have done a tremendous job, really all year. Guys like Torrance Burgess kind of stepped up. Obviously, everyone knows about Ishmael, but, guys like Torrance Burgess stepped up. Lincoln Perry had a couple of good runs. Deion Hankins is another guy that's provided some value. So we got a stable of backs that can get the job done. I think we just have to do a better job of putting the ball in the end zone.
Let's go over to Jacob.
Yeah, hey, Coach. Unfortunately, Jordan got banged up in that game. Stephen Parker saying good. You had an update on those guys?
We'll see kind of what it looks like. It's still early in the week. So that's probably all I got right now.
Let's go over to Luke Creasy.
Coach, is there a story about your backdrop for today's call?
I'm over at a donor's house. We got into work early, had an 11 o'clock donor call or 11 o'clock donor meeting that I had set up, and I forgot about this call. So I'm at their house getting it done. Pretty cool little backdrop here, though.
Let's go back to Billy.
Luke kind of stole my question because I was going to ask about the backdrop anyways. But looking at, a ULM team, They run the ball really well. They've had moments where they can be dangerous in the air. How do you kind of prepare for that defensively?
Yeah, I think obviously their running back is the real deal, both of them. We recruited James Jones a little bit. We know about him. 22 as a guy, real guy. Pretty impressive what he's doing as a true freshman, and their offensive line and the receivers. I think they're just really well coached, and they have a plan for what they're doing, and especially early, they were coming out and really wearing people out. But even, last week you saw what they did to Marshall in the run game, and Marshall has a really good defense, really good players. So it's a talented team, really well coached team, and it's gonna be a 4-quarter ball game.
Let's go back over to Jacob.
Yeah, Coach, just wanted to know how you guys are getting back into the rhythm of Saturday games after you played your third midweek game. I imagine it changed a lot of things, but it must feel nice to be on Saturdays for a while till the end of the season.
Yeah, it really is. It's nice, and it's always great to play on ESPN and play on national television and all that kind of stuff. But I think for the guys, it's always good to play on the Saturday. You could kind of feel it on Tuesday, just kind of the different schedule and that whole deal. So I'm excited to play on a Saturday and get our guys back in rhythm.
Do you have a follow up there, Jacob? Are you good? All right, Coach, I had one. I just wanted to kind of ask about your assessment on, RJ Martinez's performance. Obviously, hopefully Jordan's back this week, but how would you assess his performance in the second half and getting his first kind of meaningful snaps for Texas State?
Yeah, I thought RJ played really well. Those two battled for the job in fall camp, and he played extremely well. I think obviously the late pick, and there's probably, which really wasn't his fault. And then there was a throw earlier in the game that I wish he could have made and sat in there and threw it. We had a guy open down the field. But besides those two plays, man, I thought he played extremely well. And we'll kind of see how Jordan feels, this week. And just like last game, I as a former quarterback, you never want to put those guys out there in a bad situation and being banged up, and you're out there and not necessarily 100%. No one's 100% right now, but just putting them in a bad situation for that kid, you don't want to do that. So we'll kind of assess that this week and kind of see what that looks like. I know Jordan is as tough as they get, and he's going to be ready to go. So we'll just kind of assess that and kind of see what it looks like. But I would expect Jordan to be able to go.
And let's go back over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Jacob kind of hit on this, and I was just curious your thoughts. Returning back to that Saturday schedule, what does that schedule look like for your team where, it's almost a bye week where you have a little over a week to prepare? How have you guys kind of kept them checked in and kept them locked in for this extended period of time?
Yeah, I think for us, just because we have had some unique scheduling this year that, our guys are not used to it, but they're a little more used to it. And, we let the players go home. We practice for 2 days and let them go home for the weekend and let them refresh, recharge a little bit. I think that was much needed after a tough loss, and kind of just get their minds right and off of football for a little bit. So, and then obviously the coaches worked and we were getting a good game plan together, and we practiced yesterday, probably a little bit more of a Sunday practice than what we usually do on Sunday. And then we got back on schedule today, being off and doing academics, and then we'll have regular Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Definitely proud of our football program for showing up against UConn, not quitting, showing a lot of fight to the very end. Came up a little bit short at the end with the onside kick attempt. Got to do better at stopping big plays. I mean, we gave up 3 long runs for about 125 yards. If we don't do that and just cut that in half, I thought our defense played well outside of those 3 explosive runs. And then offensively, to have those 2 interceptions that led to 10 points, that's not good complementary football that we got to make sure that we're doing. We're a team that has to play, not a perfect game, but we got to play very, very clean, and we can't beat ourselves. And, it still goes back to those 4 to 5 plays. When you cut the film on, you look back on the game, it's a lot of what ifs, but really, really proud of how hard our defense played, how well they tackled. Just had a couple of run fits on those long runs that were disappointing. And then offensively, got to create more explosive plays in the passing game. Thought their front did an outstanding job of controlling our run game, and we don't have a formula to throw the ball 40 plus times to win games. So we got to go back to a drawing board, get some spots corrected, and get going in the right direction. But very proud of our team for fighting, showing a lot of resiliency, and those are positives that we're building upon with our team.
All right, we'll open up now for questions from our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you for those questions. We'll start it off with Billy.
Hey, Coach, you kind of mentioned this in your opening statement, defensive efforts. Josiah Robinson with, 12 total tackles, and then you had Kevin Swint with 7 solos. To spotlight a little bit individually, is there anybody else that, you really think maybe it's not going to be on the stat sheet, but defensively that really showed out for you guys this past weekend?
Yeah, it's always going to be the D-line. They're not going to get as much publicity just from the style of play that we have up front. So they did their job of stopping the ball, carry his feet, creating opportunities for our linebackers and second level guys to make tackles. I do think we had, probably the most tackle for losses we've had in a game. But it's just still going back to small details of things of fitting the right gap, getting the correct call on critical downs. But I'm just proud of how they brought physicality on the road, played with a chip on the shoulders outside of those 3, long runs. If it wasn't for those 3 long runs, it'd have been a pretty impressive performance by our defense. So something to build upon with a tough JMU team. They're top 50 in basically most statistical categories. And defensively, they lead the country in turnovers. So we got to do a great job of controlling the clock, not turning the ball over, because I think they got 17 interceptions. Those come from the secondary, and they're second level players. So I think everybody in their secondary has an interception. So they're doing an outstanding job of creating turnovers, creating short fields for their offense, and then offensively they got really good quarterback. O-line's very solid. Tight end has great ball skills, and then there's 2 receivers, 1 and number 9. They can beat you down the field and in the screen game. So you definitely have to know where those guys are. So they have a formidable offensive unit and a defensive unit. So all 3 phases, we're going to play well, got to play clean, can't beat ourselves. That's what we're practicing to do this week.
And then, Coach, just to follow up, the performance of Ted Hurst throughout the year, he's been quite a weapon for you guys offensively. How do you look to get him more involved in the offensive schemes moving forward?
Yeah, we just got to try to move him around. He's getting double covered a lot, and in certain situations, they're not going to allow us to throw him the football. So we have to be creative on how we get opportunities for him. But at the same token, our quarterback has to progress and move on, because if one guy's getting double covered, that means someone else has a one-on-one matchup. So, and they got to win their one-on-ones when that opportunity forces itself. So just got to be strategic, but we definitely have to get the ball into Ted's hands, and I think we'll come up with a plan to do so. And just got to go out and execute that plan in front of a hostile crowd at JMU. I know they're going to pack the stadium, and they're coming off a bye week, so they'll be well rested. And we were kind of banged up a little bit, so we got to get healthy and make sure we have our mental approach to this week's game plan in order.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, good response by our football team. This has been a good responding team this year. Having come off a Boise State, Ole Miss, and OD loss, followed up by a road game, and having the opportunity to win all three of those games. Love their response. Credit to Coach Applewhite and his team. They were as advertised offensively. As one of the top offenses in our league. I thought they did a tremendous job of moving the football, and defensively they can cause you issues. Loved how we finished the game. Came away with a big conference win. Now we get a bye week to get a little bit healthier as we hit the last part of this November run, and got Troy up next, who's coming off a big win of their own. So with that, I'll take any questions that you got.
All right, for our media, please raise your hand and we'll call on you for those questions. We'll start it off with Billy.
Hey, Coach, you kind of hit it on it. The way your team finished, not specifics, but what is that kind of conversation going into the fourth quarter? You guys are in the huddle. How do you kind of like spur that movement, or was it player led?
Well, we all came up in the fourth quarter. Obviously, we did not play a great third quarter. You go in at halftime, it's 14-13, and then you look up at the end of that third quarter, and you're 2 scores down. And so, we just all huddled up, came together, and said, "Hey, we've been in this situation before. With less time." If you remember Marshall, and so we feel like we have an offense that's capable of producing points in a hurry with the playmakers we have. I did feel like we needed to create a turnover against a team that was exceptional at protecting the football. But all of a sudden, you get in that beginning of that fourth. Dallas for a big touchdown, and then right on that next kickoff, there's the turnover that you needed, and that creates another scoring opportunity. And now you're sitting there with 13 minutes left to go in the game. It's a 1-score game, and we're in a battle. And so found a way to be able to come out with a huge win. Credit both JC and Dex for the jobs that they did in that game, as well as our defense and the stops that they got late.
And then a follow up to that, you just mentioned him, Josh Dallas. What do you think are the problems that both, between him, Dalen, and OJ? I mean, you've really got a lot of dynamic receivers. What have you seen about their progressions and really what their offensive weapons are?
Yeah, I've always felt like it's hard to defend us because of the playmakers at the other positions. South Alabama really did a nice job of playing some cloud against us to take away a Derwin Burgess on the outside and an LV Bunkley Shelton, but that leaves you a lot of open grass inside. It was a Dalen Cobb. It should be a Dalen Cobb, Josh Dallas day with the coverages that we were seeing. And fortunately for us, those guys really stepped up. They've done it all year and made huge plays for us. OJ is just a special player. Not only does he provide explosive runs like he did in that game, but also 6 catches out of the backfield that were huge in setting up scoring drives. So dynamic weapon, both as a runner and as a receiver out of the backfield. That's why I think he's one of the better players in our league.
And then another follow up to that, I feel like every week I ask you about JC French and his performance. I mean, another, pretty great performance. And that starts with, his leadership with that offense. You talk about your dynamic ability to score. What have you seen from him and really the growth that continues?
Yeah, it was going to be really important for us in that game to protect the football and be great decision-making skills, and that's what I thought he did. He goes 22 of 27 on the day, is able to move the ball down the field, has 2 touchdowns, but also, made the decision to pull the ball down and run with his legs, and get critical first downs for us, and then showed his physicality. We knew that we were going to have to go for it on some 4th down situations against a high-powered South Alabama offense. And we chose to go for it 4 times in that game. 3 of them were quarterback sneaks that, I think the whole world knew it was coming, and he finds a way to, pour it up in there And then, unfortunately gets his eye poked where he can't see. But I thought his toughness, I thought his decision making was stellar in that game. And, and then Dex does a really nice job at the end, when it's his time coming in there and leading his team to that last touchdown that was needed. So I'm proud of both kids.
Coach, you wear the wristband with the never again. How important is that mentality for your team in games like this one or the game against Marshall to have the confidence and the resolve to come back and win those battles?
Yeah, we've been in this position. We're proud of being, in our first 2 years being a postseason team. But we've really wanted to put ourselves in position again to contend for a championship and have a better November. We did not do that in our first 2 years, and that's why that we wear the wristband never again. But when we're here, we're going to do whatever it takes to be able to find ways to go 1-0, try to go 1-0 each week in the toughest time of the year when everybody's clawing, fighting, scratching, to win a championship or get to postseason. This is where, it's big man's football. It's tough football. And credit our kids. I found a way. They found a way, both mentally and physically, toughness to find a way to win.
Thanks, Coach Helton. Appreciate the time today.
All right, guys, take care. Hail Southern.
Yeah, so getting into November, kind of really where you want it to be, where everything's in front of you, you control your own destiny. The biggest game of the year is this week for sure. We know that, understand that. Team that last year, truthfully, I don't know how else to say it, kicked our ass last year and went to their place. So, we've got a lot of work to do this week to get ready to play. Excited to have them at home, to be back in front of our crowd. We've had, kind of a tough, road stretch there. It'd be good to be back home, but, playing a really good football team that certainly they control their own destiny as well. So a lot to play for this weekend. And, for us, the biggest game of the year.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please raise your hand and we'll call on you for those questions. We'll start it off with Billy.
Hey, Coach, we've talked about your defense the last couple of weeks. How important was it to start off this game this last week, forcing the field goals and keeping them out of the end zone when they were, inside the 10?
Field goals were the difference in the game, truthfully. They got down there twice and they did a really good job. I think they had a good plan to start with, and kind of knocked us on our heels a little bit in the middle part of the field. And our defense did a really good job, kind of bowed their necks down there in the red zone and forced field goals. It ends up being the difference in the game, a game where we had to settle for field goals on offense, which is something we got to do better. But it's a game where we had to settle for field goals. If our defense doesn't force those field goals, well, you come out on the wrong side of it. So it was huge, I'm really proud of those guys, and I said from the beginning, I felt like by the time we get to the end of this season, we will have a good defense when it's all said and done. And those guys are playing better and better. Certainly a lot of first-year coaches on our staff there, a new scheme for these guys. It's a work in progress. And I think if we do it right, we'll continue to get better over the course of the next 4 regular season games and whatever's after that for us. So it was huge. And certainly, something, for us early in the year, whenever people got in the red zone, we had a really hard time putting out the fire. And that was absolutely critical last week.
And then just to follow up to that, no days off, you got to face an Arkansas State team that has equally as many weapons. What are you looking to see out of preparation for this week leading up into that match against Arkansas State?
We've talked a lot about this with our team, this year. Your preparation process has to be on point every week just to have a chance to win a game on Saturday. And every day and every part of that preparation, whatever film study you get every day that your coaches, put in your folder to watch, you need to watch it. You need to understand your opponent, know who you're playing, understand what they're doing. You have to physically, mentally get yourself ready to play. You have to be in treatment. You have to do all these things. And if you let any part of that slip, you leave the opportunity to play well up to chance. And, it's, football is a heck of a game because it's 99% practice and preparation to be guaranteed 12 games as a team. So, you know, for us, we stress the preparation process as much as anything. And I think for 8 weeks, our guys have done it really well. Now is certainly not the time to think you have it figured out. Now is certainly not the time to let any of that slip, because, you know, that's what's gotten us to this point, is how hard our players and our staff have worked. You know, when you get here and you start getting close to the vision that you had at the beginning of the year and making it a reality, well, you can't let it go. You got to double down on it. So, I mean, to me, it's these guys know what's expected of them. You know, we've fortunately the last couple of weeks, we've been able to rest a little bit, which is good. You know, we needed that as well. But now it's game week, and so we got to go. And, you know, that's what we've done for the first 8 weeks. And we certainly, now it's foot on the gas more than ever.
And then just a follow-up offensively, what does it mean to have somebody with the experience and the leadership, you know, and somebody like Ben Wooldridge?
You know, I don't know how you can put that into words. All I know is this, is if Ben wasn't here and he wasn't playing the way he is, we're not sitting where we are right now. He doesn't make many mistakes. He is a relentless competitor. And that goes along with everything with it. His preparation process is as good as anyone I've ever been around. I mean, he's as disciplined of a person as I've ever met. You know, with the way that he takes care of his body, the way that he prepares, the way that he works. You know, we're not where we are without him. And I don't know if there's one person in this league that's more valuable to their team than Ben Wooldridge is to the Raging Cajuns. And, you know, I think he exemplifies toughness. I think he sets the tone for our team as far as leadership goes and toughness. And, you know, I don't know if you can give someone a higher, it's never about one person. Football team's always a bunch of people that make it work. But I know our football team's not where we are if Ben is not playing the way he is for us. And I'm proud of him, because that kid's been through hell and back to get over here. And for him to be playing the way he is, it's you can't write it any better than that.
Coach, you've been around this league for a long time, but how difficult does it make it to pursue a championship in the Sun Belt when you're going against teams? Last year had 12 bowl teams, this year setting up to be 9 to 11 bowl teams again. How difficult does that make that pursuit of a championship, maybe in comparison to earlier on in your career at Louisiana?
There's no easy days. I mean, I could tell you that. You know, it used to be, you know, you get the schedule and there were probably 3 or 4 games at least on the schedule that you're like, man, if we just show up and play pretty well, we'll win. Those don't exist anymore. I mean, it's great for our league, and I'm proud. I've said this from the beginning. I'm proud to be a part of this league. I'm proud of the direction that our leadership has taken this league. I think it's really good football coaches. Every week you're going to get some wrinkles, and you're going to get some things to be prepared for. There's well-coached football teams, and there's really, really good football players. So, you know, the league has continued to improve year after year. And I think, you know, last year having 12 teams in bowl games is phenomenal. You know, I mean, every year we're over our guaranteed bowl allotment, which is outstanding. You know, whenever I was a freshman, we had a year where our conference champion went 5-6, and we had to petition to be able to get the conference champion in a bowl game. So I have firsthand been able to see how far this league has come. It makes me proud to be a part of it. You know, it makes me proud to be a coach in this league, because I respect these guys more than I could ever explain. You know, and every week, whenever you show up, I mean, our kids know, I mean, if you show up and you think you've got somebody beat, you're going to get embarrassed and you're going to get humbled that week. And we've seen it over and over. You see it every week. You know, I mean, I don't care who you pick to win whatever game you're talking about. That's all for the birds. I mean, every single game, it's 50-50, and it's going to be about who shows up, who plays well, who protects the football, who makes a couple plays in critical situations. That's every week in this league. It doesn't matter who you're talking about, who you're playing, where you're playing. It's made me a better coach having to play against these teams in this league. It's made our team better. And like I said, we're just proud to be a part of it. You know, nothing would make us prouder than to represent the Western Division in the Sun Belt Conference Championship, because I think this is a hell of a division.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time this week.
Thank you, guys.
Not at all. Good to see everybody again. Well, obviously, what a fun homecoming for us. It was an awesome atmosphere once again for us to be at home and in front of a homecoming crowd and honoring our 1999 team and a great effort by our players and our staff to pull together and get a conference win and certainly a much needed win. So very pleased with the efforts and the improvements made and just thankful for a great environment from our university and our fan base.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Billy.
Yeah, Coach, you kind of mentioned it, that home atmosphere, at Veterans Memorial. How big of a factor do you think that was, with everything going on to really come out? I mean, that second quarter, you guys were on fire.
Well, I think, I try to be as honest as I can be with you all and give the truth because I think it's important to do so. And I really it was critical that we play good in front of our home fan base and do that on homecoming, just with all that's happened and the tough year that it's been. So it was huge for us. And honestly, it's huge for our players and our staff too, because there's only so long that you can go with improving and doing the things the right way. And if you don't see some sort of evidence of improvement, and the biggest being wins, losses, then sooner or later that will and those things gives out. So it was critical for us to come home and play well in front of our people and for our staff and players to see what that work can become if you do things the right way, for us to just keep some belief and keep improving.
And then, with the history of tremendous running backs coming out of Troy, how big was it for you to see that performance from Damien and Gerald this weekend?
Yeah, it was such and I don't say this just because you want to give everybody praise, but just what was put on tape from our offensive line, our tight end group, and even our wide receivers and how we blocked at every level was critical to their success. But those two ran their guts out. They broke tackles. They put the ball in space and played well for each other. And I just thought it was a huge effort by those two to do what they did in a physical game and run the football the way we were able to.
How important do you think winning a game like that and then taking that into the bye, where it kind of shifts the mindset and the mentality a little bit, because you got that conference win. Now you get to build on that success and really build forward. How important do you think that was going into the bye week?
It's huge. We're in a year where this is, in a lot of ways uncharted territory for Troy, and why it's a special place for us not to be eligible to get to a bowl. That's the negative side of things. The positive side of things, if you go in and to this bye week with this momentum from the second half of Ark State to this game now, and go into the last three games with momentum and belief and improvement and honoring our seniors, but also our next year's season, that just makes those jobs easier. So it was paramount that we get that job done and do that. And I think it'll obviously give great energy for us this week as we heal up and then going into our last three.
And then I hate to put it this way, that there's you get to kind of breathe a little bit. In this league, you don't really get to breathe for long. But what do you see schematically that Georgia Southern does? Got to go on the road. What is that prep kind of going to look like this week?
Yeah, there is no weeks off in this league. I think we're pretty aware. I think that's why you are able to market it the way you are, and why we're getting the respect in this league that's been getting, because it's the real deal. We've got a healthy league, as healthy as the league as there is in this country, and I think it's going to be great for the Sun Belt. It's tricky because we have to let our team heal. And we're going to use that time wisely. So our biggest thing we're going to do is work on our bodies and how we're going to have a lift schedule and get 3 huge lifts in this week, get our bodies in great shape. And then we're going to, get out to the practice field enough to get ourselves a head start on some things we need to improve on fundamentally still, but then also get ahead for Georgia Southern, and then get the weekend to breathe, and then go back in. We'll have all our game planning done. I think that's critical too, so the coaches can be able to feel rested and get game planning done throughout the day. And then we'll move forward next week with a huge normal week as we start back.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we had a really good open date last week. A chance to kind of let some of our players get healthy. We also had a chance to have 3 really hard-nosed physical football practices that we need as a football team to continue to get better. I was able to get them out of here on Thursday, or at least done with football stuff on Thursday. And we brought them back this morning, had a good short workout practice this morning to just kind of get the blood flowing. But we're excited. We had a good week last week. Our kids showed up. They practiced hard. They got better. Our focus is going to be on us, and that's what we're working on. And we're excited about this week coming up.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. We'll start off with Heath.
Hey, Reed, going into this second bye week, what was the biggest difference for you guys as compared to the first bye week you had to this one? What was some of those focuses that you made to maybe be different than coming off that last bye week you had?
Well, I mean, I think, they were similar in nature. I've said it on here before. We actually got a lot of guys on this football team that have not played a lot of football, no matter how old we are. We look on paper to actual playing the game of football. So we did a lot of good on good stuff. We got about 48 good on good snaps for 3 days. We weren't tackling, not going to do that in open date, but we were very, very physical. And then we also had some fun at the end of practice with some developmental squad stuff. Get a chance to see these young guys compete, let some of the older players on the team be the offensive defensive coordinator, call the plays, have some fun. Because look, guys, we're 1-7. We got 4 more games left. We're not going to make this miserable on our players or our coaches. And we had a little fun last week, but we got better, and we got to continue to get better. And until we become a better football team, we don't really need to worry about anybody else.
Strip over to Scott.
Hey, Coach. Last week before I guess it was the bye last week, but you talked about how, over the weekend, the guys kind of needed a break from football to clear your heads. I guess it's only Monday now, but how beneficial do you think that was if you talked to him this morning, or that could be just after everything that's happened over the last 9 weeks?
Yeah, it's always good to get a little break. And just, the way the bye weeks work for us this year, after the first 4 games, we get one, the next 4 games, we got one. And, these kids have been working really hard, and we really pushed them last week as well. And our coach has been working really hard. So it's just a chance to get away, have a weekend where you're not worried about your own game and preparing for that, but just can kind of, relax and watch football on your own and do whatever you want to do. And for me, I had the chance to watch my son playing his high school game, which, is always a great thing to do. But it's just good to get away sometimes. And it's been an emotional roller coaster for everyone involved with this program. But 2 weeks ago, I just asked these kids just to continue to come out and work and give me everything they got. We have to work. We have to get better. We're just, we're not in a place to where we can take an open date easy. We got to continue to get better and play football. And that's what they've done. So I rewarded them with some time off, and they showed up today, and they were excited, and we had a good practice.
Let's go back over to Heath.
Reed, you talked about some young guys who hadn't had much playing time. Some guys have played in a couple of games. How do you determine, what guys you don't play 4 games, what guys you do play 4 games, or is that really out the door? You're just going to play the best person available. That's, I guess, with what's happening in your situation, is that a difficult decision to make right now?
Well, first of all, that's a great question, Heath. And, no, we're going to do what's right for the kids. And that's what we're going to do. We've already identified some guys that we for sure are going to redshirt. There are already some young guys who have already played their 5 games before we even got to this situation. So, of course, those guys will continue to progress. And really, some of our young guys are some of the better players on our team that are actually playing the best football right now. But there are guys that have 1 or 2 more games. A couple have 3 that, we're going to play them until we get to that point, and then we're going to have very honest, legit conversations with them of what's best for them, what's best for their future, what do they want to do. Because we're not going to burn a red shirt right now at this point in the season. Unless the kid, we have a conversation, he just wants to keep playing, and we think that's what's best for him as well. So we're going to do what's right for the kids. We do have a lot of really young players that are playing really, really well. This freshman class we just brought in here is some outstanding football players. I think y'all can see some of that. And really, I said it before, our redshirt sophomores and below on this team, that's our 3 years of full recruit class we've had. We're really, really proud of these guys, excited about these guys. We're starting to see a lot of them starting to play now, which is about time. And usually when you get to that 3rd year, that redshirt sophomore year, you need to start contributing. But we've also got some true sophomores and redshirt freshmen, true freshmen playing. So a lot of really good young players on this team, but we're going to keep developing them. But when it comes to that point, we're going to do what's right for the kid. We'll always do that.
Let's jump over to Scott.
Against James Madison, Ethan Crawford was pressured 25 times just over these last couple of weeks. How do you think Ethan and the offensive line have kind of tried to balance the chemistry a little bit more to, keep those numbers down?
No doubt. There's a lot of things that go to that. We got to continue to put Ethan in situations that he has the highest percentage of being successful, and we're going to keep doing that. We worked on that really hard last week. But when it comes to pressures and things, like I said, there's a lot of things. Like sometimes the quarterback's eyes are in the wrong place. Sometimes the old linemen go to the wrong guy. Sometimes we don't switch protection the way we need to. Like sometimes the run backs are involved. Sometimes the receivers don't run the right routes. There's a lot of things that happen there. But with all that being said and done, we got to make sure none of that happens. And so the best way to do that is making sure we're doing things that we know how to do, that we can do well, that our guys can do well. Because that's too much. We can't have them pressure that many times in a game and think that we're going to have the success that we need to have. And I thought there were times we played really well against James Madison. There's some things we did really well. I think that if you go back and look at that game, I know it ended up being a 17-point game, but that's we don't fun ball on the 1 yard line. That's a 3-point game late in that game. Our kids did a lot of good things. We're just not good enough right now to overcome critical mistakes and things like that. And that includes, we just can't let our quarterback always get pressured like that, because even as an older player and an experienced player, they're going to struggle with that. So we got to continue to do what our guys can do the best. Like I said, we really worked on that. I think game plan wise, we've gotten to that. But I see improvement, and we got to continue to improve if we have a chance to win a game here.
Got time for one more here from Heath.
Hey, your last game defensively, you were much more aggressive. And really held a good James Madison team way below their average. Is that a combination you think you've unlocked defensively, where you need to be a little more aggressive than what y'all have been before the James Madison game with the blitz combinations and different things? It seemed like you played a lot better.
Yeah, we really did. And like going into that game, I sat down with Clay, and I was like, hey, I want you to, this is your defense. We hired you, because you're a really good football coach, and this is your defense, and call it the way you want to call it. And I just asked him, like, whatever you have in your tool belt or your toolkit that helps stop the run, 'cause I feel like we've really been struggling that. Let's bring that out a little bit. But I want to be what is part of what you do. I don't want you to try to do something you're not comfortable doing. So, and that's what we did. And we did. We brought a lot more pressure. And when you bring pressure, it allows your D lineman to be on the move and move more. And it created some opportunities for our guy. I still think our front seven on defense are really talented players. And there are times this year we haven't played that way, but I think we've got some. They are older, and they're pretty talented. And I think they showed that the other day. They played well. They still got out of gap a couple of times. Gave up some big plays, but we're going to continue to work on that too. And it's whatever's working, we're going to keep building on that and doing it. And like I said, I was proud of our defense. They played plenty well enough for us to win that football game. That's all you can ask for any unit, is just to do your job and give us a chance to win the football game, based on how your unit plays. And they definitely did that last week.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Sure. Well, obviously looking forward to getting back into the rhythm and the routine for the next 4 weeks. I thought it was a really productive bye week, served many purposes. But now on to the challenge of playing the premier team in our conference, and rightfully so. They're as impressive as a group, a collective group, as I've seen all year, a complete football team, offense, defense, special teams, big and physical like your typical Louisiana football teams, very well coached. And I can't say enough about the quarterback, very, very skilled, but also how would I describe him as a kind of an NFL-minded quarterback. You can tell by the way he exhausts his progressions. You can tell by his drops. You can tell by his rhythm. Can make all the throws. He's in control. You can see it on the field. Also from a leadership standpoint, really, really talented group of running backs. Again, just have a lot of respect for their football team. Big, physical, very imposing. It's going to be a great challenge, but I think really to date, This is probably the most complete football team we've seen all year when you look at offense, defense, and special teams collectively as a unit.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Billy.
Hey, Coach, you kind of hit on this in your opening statement. How important do you think it was for your team to get that week of rest and really kind of lock in, mentally where, there's that mindset of the next opponent, the next week, and you guys have had a little bit of extra time to focus on that opponent. What do you think that does mentally for your team?
Well, I think it's what you make of it. So much is being in a routine and a rhythm. I do think it came at the right time. So many things we needed to be done, but now how do we get back our focus? How do we get into the in-season routine? How do we get back to the rhythm and everything that goes into it, the fluidity, the way we play. So again, this week is going to be big. I know they've had ample time too. It's really like a bye week for them as well. But it's what you make of it. But, it's being able to go on the road, being able to play an extreme quality of opponent. Obviously, you work really hard to be playing meaningful games in November. And we're playing meaningful games in November, and it's not this game. This game isn't the end-all, be-all. We have 4 games left on our schedule, and every game is the most important game, and then you move forward. But I do think the bye week came at the right time for us. Now, how do we create a competitive advantage with that? Just like for them, they've had ample time as well.
Let's jump over to Chris.
Hey, Coach, just your thoughts. Obviously, it's a rivalry game this week with you guys and the Cajuns. Just your thoughts of now being in this rivalry now, obviously entering your 4th year.
Well, it's a game that means a lot to a lot of people, means a lot to our universities. So, anytime you can play in games like that have a significance, that have a meaningful deal in your program, I think is very, very big. But again, you can't get caught up in the emotion of that. It's going to take great focus for us. We're going to have to definitely play our best football game of the year. Make no mistake about it. And we're going to have to play our most complete football game of the year in all 3 phases.
Let's jump over to Billy.
Coach, you mentioned this earlier about playing meaningful football in November. In your time with the Sun Belt, how have you seen this league grow where, essentially every match is big football coming down in November?
Well, I think I've continuously said it. It's night and day different. Our league is completely different. You look at it, it used to be called the Fun Belt. You'd win games 43-42, and it would be a shootout. It's not that anymore. I think their parity has really hit the Sun Belt. I think we have institutions that have really made high commitments in their football programs. When you look at it from facility improvements, when you look at the game environments, everyone has a home field advantage. I think when you look at the coaches that we have in this league, I've been doing this a long time, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for the coaches in this league. Louisiana is as well a coach a football team as we've played. So when you look at, it's become more of a defensive oriented football conference when you look at it. But there's parity, and anyone can beat anybody each and every week. You have to basically reinvent yourself every single week. And I compare it a little bit to the SEC. There are no off weeks. And then I think when you compile that with our non-conference scheduling and who we play, that's why records don't mean anything. Troy is as good of a football team as we have in our league. And, football comes down to 3 or 4 plays in a game, maybe 4 to 6 plays that can make the difference in a season. Winning is very fragile. There takes a lot that goes into winning. But I have a tremendous amount of respect for where we're at currently with the state of the Sun Belt Conference. And I think you would be hard pressed to find a conference that has more complete depth in their teams and there are no off weeks. There are no games where you just show up and you win football games. And that's something that I've tried to educate our fan base here is you can't get caught up in records. Football is a game of matchups. That's why some teams fare better than other teams just because of the 22 matchups that go involved on the offensive and defensive side of the ball before you even talk special teams.
Thanks, Coach Jones. Appreciate the time today.
Is Travis taking the day off?
He's broadcasting our women's soccer championship, so he had to do that this morning. So I hopped in on managing this call.
Well, this is the best management we've had of the call, so I appreciate you and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Coach.
See you later.
Yeah. Just made too many mistakes against a really good football team in App State. Obviously we know in a Sun Belt game, we can't make that many mistakes, can't turn the ball over that many times and do the things that we did. And so, congrats to Coach Clark, because I know it was a big win for them. And so looking forward to getting better this bye week and coming back and, playing a game against JMU.
We'll open up now for questions for our media. Please raise your hand and we'll call on you. We'll start it off with Billy.
Coach, I know you mentioned the takeaways being a big part of that, but individually you still had some outstanding performances. Talk a little bit about your receivers specifically. It seems like everybody was really dialed in, especially Isaiah Page. What did you see from your receiving room and your receiving core this past weekend?
Well, yeah, I thought Isaiah played very, very well. Obviously he had a big game from a production standpoint, but he did some other things really well as well. And I think where the receivers really played well is they blocked exceptionally well on the perimeter, and that created some big time plays. And that was something that we knew we were going to have to do. And so, I thought our receivers played hard all game, and it, it showed up with quite a bit of production.
And then, Colton Joseph, other than the takeaway, still a pretty fantastic game production wise. Where have you seen his leadership grow, and where do you expect that to continue to grow in this bye week?
Well, I think that's one area where he's going to continue to grow in is his leadership. He's still trying. He's obviously a younger guy than maybe some other starting quarterbacks. So he's been able to, some of the older guys from offensive lineman wise, maybe running backs like Aaron Young and things like that have kind of taken that role. But I think I have seen him be much more of a leader over the last couple of weeks. And the guys certainly believe in his ability to create plays.
And then, just a general kind of skeleton, what does this bye week look for you and your program?
Yeah, I mean, we're actually going to practice today. We don't normally. That's why I was a little late. I apologize. But we're going to practice today, and then we're not going to practice tomorrow. Let the election happen. Let some guys get some civic activities and things like that going on, and then we'll practice again on Wednesday, and then we'll do some life skill things on Thursday, and then get them out on Friday and Saturday, and let them have the weekend off and that sort of things. We'll get some young guys some more reps. And we'll obviously get a head start on JMU, but we'll try to get healthy, but also get some younger guys some reps. We know we're going to need some of these guys these last 3 weeks of the year.
And then just a final one on that note. You talk about finishing strong. How has the mindset been throughout the year? Not getting the results you wanted earlier, but being in those games, winning 3 straight. Face a little bit of adversity here, but there's still games on the table.
Yeah, I mean, we know there's still a lot ahead of us. We didn't play our best football on Saturday, and that's the thing that was disappointing for all of us. We each made mistakes, me included, and so we went out. We didn't play our best ball, so we got to come back and play our best ball, and know that if we do that, we don't quite control our own destiny right now, but we certainly control our ability to go 1-0 and make it harder for everybody else. And so, if we do that and we go 1-0, I think at the end of the year, we'll still like where we're sitting.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. For our media, we're joined now by Marshall head coach Charles Huff. Coach, do you mind kicking it off with an opening statement?
Yeah.
can we all help Ricky get to the press conference on time, like we asked our players to do? I will make sure I remind him of that. We try to do things the right way here. So I've been waiting for 7 minutes on Ricky Rahne, but I will take a back seat to him. No, obviously a good win this weekend against a really good football team. It's really commendable to the Sun Belt that there's just so many really good football teams. I know every week it's a challenge and good team, but the teams and records don't marry up. When you get on the field, this conference is really competitive, and Coach Vince has done a really good job. Really proud of our players battling through and finding a way to win, being down late in the second half and sticking together, taking care of the ball, coming up with big stops on defense, and then ultimately scoring points when we needed to. So got a lot of work to do, running out of opportunities to clean up some of the mistakes that we're having. So we got to get that done quickly and get ready for an extremely tough challenge down in Hattiesburg. It's a really good football team. Again, you put the film on and it doesn't match the records. And they've obviously had some time off. I know they've had some change. So we've got to kind of really focus on what we do and how we do it and how well we can do it and how consistently we can do that in order to be successful.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. For our media, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. We'll start off with Luke.
Coach, I know you missed me on this call last week, so I made sure to show up for you this week.
Yeah, I mean, we asked our players to show up on time, and we can't even get the adults to do things right. So there's probably a little bit what's going on in the world right now, why tomorrow is so important that everybody goes out and votes for whoever you think can get this thing corrected and everyone do what they're supposed to do the way it's supposed to be done every day, all day. Whatever candidate you think that is, please go out and vote because we have an issue. Luke, Ricky, we have issues. So we need you guys to go vote. Go ahead, Luke.
I don't quite know how to follow that, but one of the things that I know is important for you guys is to take every week 1 week at a time, and to go on the road, a place where you've had just struggles to play on the road and close out games sometimes. What's the message this week for your guys as you enter this week with still a lot of opportunity in front of you?
Yeah, I mean, we got to go and play well. The thing it doesn't matter if you're playing home or away. There's things you can't do. You can't turn the ball over. You can't miss opportunities. We got to focus on executing those things. The location, it just magnifies it. I'm not sure it forces you to, not take care of the ball or not catch the ball or not make tackles. Those are the things that are, to me, are self-sustainable. You go out every week and you're able to consistently do those things. It doesn't matter if you're home or away. What we've got to be able to do is understand that there is a, you call it road focus or an intentionality just from the routine of, what you do and how you do it. But ultimately, it's going to be a 60-minute game, on 100 and by 53 in the third. And we've got to figure out a way offensively, coaching-wise, too. This is not just a player assessment of the entire team. Everyone's got to figure out a way to go out and execute consistently. And if you do that, whether you're home or away, you're going to be able to be successful. If you're not, you're going to struggle either way. So we've got to look at what we have done well from a coaching standpoint and try to put our players in a really good position. And then we got to look at the things that we're struggling with and take this week to try as much as possible to get them cleaned up fast because we're playing a really good team and they'll expose those things if we don't get them corrected.
Let's go over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. I'm just curious, from a mental standpoint, both from a player perspective and a coach perspective, how big is it for you guys to win a game like that at home? Somebody that's fighting at the top of the West Division, close game, conference game, a lot on the line, heading into November. How big of a win is that for you and your program?
Yeah, I think, you're right. It's a big win, but I use it the same way we used, a failure. You got to be able to learn from both, so to win and you break it down in the locker room and you move on, but you got to be able to learn from both because the things we did in that game, even though we weren't perfect, even though there were still things we got to improve on, the things we did in that game gave us a chance to respond. And there were other opportunities in other games, not just in this conference, but in general, where we didn't respond. So it teaches you both ways. It teaches you, yeah, there's going to be adversity. There's going to be things that happen in games that you'd always like to have back, but how you respond, and that might be the other side of the ball, or that may be the next series for that same side of the ball. How you respond will ultimately dictate the outcome. And hopefully for us, we can go back to the responses and the way we responded in this game. So your memory isn't, oh, here we go again. And you're thinking about the 3 times that we didn't do things right and it didn't work out for us. So I think you have an opportunity to go back and say, hey, we were down late in the second half against a really good football team. We had to bow our necks. The defense had to make a play. Offense had to make a play. So if that happens again, you have something positive to go back on. It's not the, oh, well, we're down again, this is going to happen. We've been here before. We can learn from it. It ultimately took executing at a really high level. It took responding to a really good football team, making some plays and coming back and making adjustments. And then it took everybody being together. At this point in the season, the pressure of wanting to win can also be the pressure of wanting to be frustrated or wanting to point a finger, because it all stems from the competitive character. And your competitive character is what drives you to want to go out and play really well. And sometimes that can boil over into frustration. Sometimes that can boil over into, well, if you guys would have did this, we would have did that. And we haven't gotten to that point. We've been able to, in the midst of our want to play really well, our want to respond, we've been able to stick together. I think that's a huge piece that'll help us moving forward.
And then if I have time for a quick one, Coach just wanted to talk about, your running back room and how essential that has been to your game plan. What have you seen from your leaders such as Braylon, AJ, and then Ethan and Jordan also getting involved this weekend? How important is that going to be going down the stretch?
Yeah, it's going to be ultra important. It's a player's game, so obviously they have to make plays, but I think, whenever you're talking about the success of the running game, the O-line has a lot to do with it. Our guys take a lot of pride in that. And don't get me wrong, the center isn't running 80 yards, but, you look at some of these games that we've had production, our guys got good space. We're creating space, we're creating movement. Our guys are able to break tackles when they get to the second level. So all 3 of those guys have done a phenomenal job. And then Braylon, he has something that obviously a lot of people don't have, which is the ability to create with his legs and his arms. So he keeps teams off balance. And then I think the running backs themselves have done a really good job of being patient, reading the runs out the right way, understanding that, hey, if I get an opportunity to get to the next level, I got to do a really good job of separating. And our O-line has been good. We haven't been perfect, and I think they've kind of just stuck to it. Last week was probably a good example. Similar to this week, they have a very good D-line and defensive front. It may not be the first play go 80 yards. We may have to kind of keep working at it, keep grinding. And I think that's really a testament to the entire unit, O-line and running backs.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time today.
Thanks, guys.
We're starting our practices tomorrow for the off week, getting ready for Lafayette. It was a disappointing loss against Georgia Southern. Just did not play well enough in the fourth quarter. You give up, you don't score in the fourth quarter and you give up 21 points, 2 turnovers, two special teams errors. It's just, we talked about it this morning as a team. There's so much blame to spread across everyone. It was just unfortunate. Not unfortunate. It was just disappointing. It was disappointing. But it's over. That meeting's over. I'm having to relive it with you guys again, but it's over. And now we're on to Lafayette and a really good football team.
We'll open up now for questions from our media. We'll start it off with Craig Stevenson.
Hey, Major, you got any kind of update on Gio, just what he is looking at tonight, toward game day?
He's in pretty good shape right now, considering he took a shot on the play before the 1st and 20, where we got in a holding call. His head hit the turf, and pretty hard. And so they examined him and said, he's not fit to be able to come back. But today was given some very positive information. So I think he'll be heading the right direction pretty quickly.
The other thing is, they have that mechanism where you can appeal a targeting. Is there any chance that could happen with Reggie, or is he out for the first half?
We're gonna try. We're gonna try. I mean, it's it's questionable, but we're gonna try to see if we can get 12 back.
Okay. That's all I got. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Craig.
Let's jump over to Billy.
Hey, Coach. Looking forward to the bye week. What just kind of mentally, where are you at?
We need to heal a little bit. We've got some guys that are banged up. We need to get some legs back. But we also need to get ready for our opponent. And Lafayette, to have this extra time to get ready for a really quality opponent that we're going to have to play on the road. I think it helps our football team. If you're asking like where I'm at or where the staff's at or the players, people are disappointed. We felt like we played well in the third quarter and it separated. But some crucial turnovers, crucial special teams errors, a number of penalties in the red zone, giving up some big explosive passes. We talk to our guys. We want to work as a program because we want to compete for championships, but the level of execution that you have to have in the fourth quarter and the way you have to play to beat a very quality opponent, we're obviously still learning that. It's something that we as coaches did not do a good job. And I told the team this morning, we should have been running up and down the sideline to start the fourth quarter and saying, now remember Marshall, guys. Remember Marshall. This team is very capable. This isn't like a team that's playing their third team quarterback that we played 2 weeks ago. This isn't a team that's built around the run game like Louisiana Monroe. 16 points is nothing to these guys. They can spin the ball. And we just did not do a good job as a staff of reframing our guys' mindsets as to what they were facing for the last 15 minutes of that game.
And then I guess a follow up to that, did you have a plan for the bye week before this game, or did you
it
shift
hasn't. It's the same. It hasn't changed. I mean, we're not going to have them out there rolling logs and running hills now because we lost. This is about, at this point in the season, with 3 games left, you have a lot of guys with, their shoulders are knocked down, their hamstrings are tight, their necks are, so there's work that can be done without being tremendously physical the whole week. Now we are going to go out there and practice, but tomorrow will be a more scaled back. Wednesday and Thursday, we'll go out there and practice. We'll lift and we'll run and we'll stay in good cardiovascular shape. And that's really more of the plan, is make sure we get some of our big guys some running, to make sure that they stay in shape, to get 3 good lifts in, to have one practice that's a little more mental, individual driven, to kind of let some of the legs and things come back and not, get some pounding on the body. But then the other 2 days, we need to spend some time on Lafayette, and we need to, be physical in those days.
And you kind of touched on this earlier. A final one for me, still 3 games left. A lot of coaches, on this call and throughout this year, there's been a big emphasis on playing meaningful football in November. You guys have put yourself in a position to really be playing a lot of meaningful games still down the stretch. Does that go into your preparation? And, is that in the back of your mind, as you prepare for Louisiana on the road?
Yes, absolutely. We talked about it this morning, that there are things to play for in terms of bowl potential and bowl possibilities, but there's also just, you don't know in this league. You just don't know in this league. It's so competitive, and every week you pick your phone up and you look at the scores and you go, oh my God, they beat them. And that's what happens in this league. So we have to just, obviously focus on ourselves, what we can do, how we need to play. We're going to play another quality opponent this in 2 weeks here against Lafayette. We need to have learned those lessons as coaches. We need to have learned those lessons as players. So when we find ourselves in a game like that, we can go execute and we can finish and clutch, in crunch time. And that's, really what this week is about.
Thanks, Coach Applewhite. Appreciate the time today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.